kind of one of our first meetings was a socially distanced outdoors, 6 feet apart because of, it was July 2020. And we met, and Andy came into that meeting. It's like meeting two or three, it was very early on. And he said this phrase, now we're going to start driving two cars. And so the digital car that you've been driving, which for me was a lot of work, and Jason too, and most people I knew on staff were just, we weren't allowed to say burnt out, but we're really exhausted. And so he said, we're going to keep driving the same digital car, which was a lot of Facebook Lives and all the, online services, and pastoring people online, and, raising teams online. And for me, doing all of the development director side online, the same speed. And now we're going to add the in-person car. And that's going to be socially distanced outdoor services on all of our campuses, which for us at Sunnyvale meant, how in the world are we going to get volunteers to take all of our equipment outside and bring it inside every single Sunday? That's going to take an entire Sunday to get that done. And will we even have volunteers that show up? So I had a lot of questions how this possibly work. I think most of us did on this SLT. So I asked a very just curious and innocent question. How is it possible to drive two cars? I didn't even understand the metaphor. And for the first time, I felt Andy's anger toward me. And I had seen him be angry at other people, but it had never come toward me. I'd heard him talk about people on staff. He had nicknames for some people on staff, which were not so nice. And I would say a lot of power by fear in those moments, like, oh, make sure you don't cross Andy, because then he'll say these things about you, or make sure you cross every T and dot every I, because if you don't, you're going to feel his wrath. And so it felt just really scary. And at the end of that meeting, I heard later from my boss, Darren, that he basically went up to him and said, hey, what was Lori trying to do in there? And Darren was sort of like, I don't know, just ask a question. But it was clear it was a huge deal to him, and it was confusing as to why. A few days later, we were hanging out with the Wood family because we were friends with their family, and we hung out once in a while. And I felt like I should apologize because I had made him upset in that meeting. Wasn't even sure if he remembered it, but, I just wanted to kind of clear the air, And so I said, hey, Andy, I just want to say that I'm really sorry. I think in that meeting the other day, I must have made you really angry because of how you reacted. And I just want to apologize for making you upset. That was not my intention. And he said, we will not talk about this in front of my family. So it was clear he was still very angry about something that didn't seem like a huge deal. So that was really confusing. And it was the last time we were ever invited to hang out with their family. From that point on began, I would say, what felt like, looking back, a contempt that he had toward me, almost like an OCD type of contempt, where it was like nitpicked. And I